So we have just received some breaking news about the future of the presence of the United States military in Iraq. Let's talk about it. So it's hit the fan, right? We already know this. And there was always the reality that because of what we did to General Soleimani, that Iraq might have a problem with it, considering that Soleimani was the man who was known for destroying ISIS. That's what he was known for. If you ever seen one of those movies where, like, what was that movie, Taken, where he's like, "This is my job, like this is what I do, like don't mess with me, because this is like I go after guys like you." That was Soleimani to Iraq, and Iraq was also the hub for ISIS. Iraq invited us, like it invited Soleimani, with just one contingency. Hey, while you're here, please do not mess with any of the Iranian military. That was it. So what does the United States do? We mess with the guy from the Iranian military. So inevitably, it was going to have consequences. So this news just broke today, and I would appreciate if you like and share this video. The Iraqi Parliament calls on the government to expel U.S. troops. The Iraqi Parliament just passed a resolution Sunday calling on the government to expel U.S. troops from the country in response to killing of Iranian General Qasem Soleimani, the leader of Iraqi militia, on its soil. Why it matters. The legal basis for the U.S. presence in Iraq is that it comes at Iraq's invitation. This vote does not formally revoke that invitation, but it is a step along that path. A U.S. exit from Iraq could ultimately be one of the most consequential results of Soleimani's killing, because it would significantly hamper the fight against ISIS and achieve a major Iranian objective, which obviously would be the purging of the United States troops. Now, I have one quibble with this, which is I don't actually know if it will actually hurt the fight against ISIS. So let me explain for a second what I mean by that. If you've been following the region closely over the last few years, then you would have noticed a pattern. Let's look at, for example, Syria. When the United States is involved in Syria, in whatever capacity we decide to be involved in that day, ISIS seems to be thriving. The moment that we're not in Syria, or at least we are far removed from Syria, all of a sudden, ISIS is gone. And then a chemical weapons attack happens. And then the next thing you know, we're back, and then ISIS returns. And then we say, well, we can't get rid of ISIS, or we can't leave because we haven't gotten rid of ISIS. So we have to stay here now, guys. Gosh. So just like this was talking about, it said Iraq had invited the United States back in. So in other words, we were almost out completely. That was one of the promises that Barack Obama had made. And then, as you all know, about 2013, 2014, ISIS shows up in really strong numbers in Iraq. And of course, that prompts Iraq to invite us back in. So now it's not illegal for us to be there. And it seems like ISIS has only gotten stronger in the region since we've been there. So I'm prepared to make the argument that it is a huge possibility that us being purged from Iraq might actually lead to ISIS weakening in the area rather than ISIS strengthening in the area. Now, there is a legitimate sentiment that because the government is primarily Shia now, that the Sunni extremists, a lot of them belong to ISIS, and because of that, they may not let up. But like ISIS wouldn't be a thing if it wasn't for the United States. So they probably won't be able to actually get the resources they need to be that disruptive of a force in Iraq unless the United States is still there and benefiting directly from our presence there. So the article goes on to say what they are saying. Iraqi Prime Minister Adel Abdul Mahdi said Iraq cannot accept a political assassination on its soil. He called the attack a grave violation of Iraqi sovereignty. Couldn't have said it any better, honestly. Mahdi also revealed that Soleimani was in Baghdad at the time of his killing to meet with him and relay Iran's response to Saudi Arabia's request for dialogue. Wait a minute, that is news. Did y'all know that? I did not. That is a whole different angle that I did not know about. Essentially, what this is saying, what the prime minister has said, is that Soleimani was in Baghdad to meet and discuss Iran's response to a request, or excuse me, Saudi Arabia's response to a request. No, Iran's response from Saudi Arabia. My apologies. Iran's response from Saudi Arabia's request to open up a dialogue between the two. Mind you, these are the two premier oil tycoons in the region, at least when it comes to the amount of oil they have in their control. In other words, it is highly probable that they were actually engaging to solve their beef, because I think that there is a level of understanding that Saudi Arabia eventually is going to realize oil is not going to be the dominant resource. And like it's going to be dominant for a while, but not in the next 50 years. I'm not, once again, this isn't me saying that somehow the elites won't find a way to take over renewable energy, but I am saying that it won't be oil that is dominating, which is highlighted by the Bolivian coup, in the Bolivian triangle with, the lithium triangle with Bolivia, Chile, and Argentina, China, the United States, and a couple of other superpowers are trying their hardest to get control of that lithium there. So like they know that they have to start working together, because a lot of their beef is about resources, and specifically, obviously, oil. Saudi Arabia's allyship is to the United States. Iran used to be our greatest ally in the region in the 50s until, we overthrew their democratically elected president. But their beef it really originated from us, if you will. So if we assassinated this general to stop that meeting, like a meeting that could have brokered peace between Saudi Arabia and Iran, that is unthinkable. You could have brought peace to an entire region by these two getting along. That is terrifying to think about. How many innocent lives going forward? How Iran and Saudi Arabia may have worked together to say, look, we can both benefit from our oil supply for now. We can even become legitimate competition for the United States so that they can't control because we're the number one exporter of oil in the world now. So they made it feel like, look, we need to kind of get control over our situation so that we can buy ourselves enough time to convert to renewable energies, or we're all screwed anyway. And I think that Saudi Arabia is not naive. So that would be that's crazy to me, because I didn't even know that. Shuff Momo, thanks for the super chat. Did you see Tim Black go at Jimmy Dore? Said he spits on Bernie and isn't a real supporter. That made me unsubscribe. Man, Tim is Tim. Jimmy invited Tim to come on his show, go on his platform. So it's sad to see. It's sad to see, man. Especially now. We got all this. Look, I shared a video from Mike Preisner, Abby Martin's fiance and the host of Eyes Left podcast, and the producer of Empire Files. Y'all know Mike. Me and Mike have not been fans of each other lately, obviously, because he has smeared and is overly critical of Tulsi, especially, and Abby is as well, especially when we're talking about in comparison to them letting Bernie off the hook. And guess what? None of that shit matters right now. We're about to start World War III. I shared his speech because Mike is he is absolutely an anti-war vet. He and Abby have absolutely done amazing work, not only in the Middle East, but when it comes to U.S. imperialism all over the world, including Venezuela. And Mike's voice as an anti-war vet, I don't care what issues we have when it comes to this election, his voice as an anti-war vet is important and supersedes any petty nonsense between us when it comes to two progressive candidates. And that's what we should be focusing on right now. Solidarity and moving forward, not trying to tear each other down for petty political points and subscribers. Glory Jones. What's up, Glory? Thanks for the super chat. From Nira to Bolton, neither party wants peace. Ain't that the truth? 100% agree. Let me continue. Mahdi noted that he had personally worked to defuse the protests outside of the United States Embassy in Baghdad earlier that week, going so far as to threaten to step down if the militia behind the protests did not disperse. President Trump thanked him for that effort. He said at the same time he was planning an attack inside Iraq without permission. Mahdi, who resigned in November amid mass protests in Iraq, but remains as caretaker prime minister, previously warned that President Trump's decision would light the fuse of war. Behind the scenes, United States military leaders were stunned that Trump gave the order to kill Soleimani, and a step they viewed as the most extreme response to recent Iranian-led violence in Iraq. Per the New York Times, the Trump administration officials have since said Trump had little choice because Soleimani was planning imminent attacks on the United States and allied forces in the region, but they have presented no evidence for such plans. Not even a damn telegram, not even an intercepted communication, nothing. You smell that? Man, y'all smell that? Smells like WMDs, don't it? But the Pentagon said. Let me be very clear about something. This whole idea that Iran led violent protests, against the embassy in the United States, I don't buy it. There is no strategic. So you're telling me while the Saudi Arabia, Iran, and Iraq were about to engage in peace talks, and Soleimani, who is known as a military genius, a strategic genius, was like, "Hey, we're gonna just start beef with the United States Embassy so that I can get assassinated to break up the peace talks that we've been yearning for." Makes perfect sense, right? I'm not buying it. There's still been no proof that Iran was behind the U.S. Embassy. Because think about it like this. If Iran was behind the escalated protests at the U.S. Embassy, then why would Iraq's prime minister step down? Like, if it was Iran that was the main catalyst, wouldn't it have to take some effort from Iran to stop it? I'm just saying. That just makes the most logical sense to me. Now, that resolution did pass today, and it calls not only on the U.S. troops to leave Iraq, but the entire international coalition fighting against the Islamic State, ISIS. That's crazy. Shuff Momo, thanks for the super chat. Yellow cake, aluminum tubes. I'm not sure I get that. But the moral of the story is, ladies and gentlemen, it's same old, same old. We shouldn't be in Iraq anyway. Like I said, by my estimation, by my analysis, us being removed from Iraq will highly likely result in ISIS withering away over time anyway. Even if we're just going to look at Syria as an example or other countries, it seems like when the United States isn't there, terrorism. What a weird coincidence once again. Hey, I just wanted to bring something up that probably totally unrelated. Y'all do know that Osama bin Laden was one of ours. Y'all do know that the IEDs that have had a huge hand in killing thousands of American soldiers. Y'all know we taught Osama and friends how to make those IEDs. You know that Hillary Clinton was very braggadocious about how we use terrorists in Afghanistan, in Iran, in Iran and other. I'm sure the thriving of particular terrorist organizations in the region and our presence in those countries that they just so happen to thrive in, totally unrelated once again. But what do I know? With that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I would love to know what your thoughts are about this. I would love to know what your thoughts are about this. Leave a like and a comment. United States, it's time to get the hell out of Iraq. We are not wanted. We don't deserve to be there. We are not the good guys. We are the empire. We are the fire nation, the bad guys. And we need to fight to make sure to let the world know that the people of this country, we don't believe in nor do we support the actions of this insane government. And we're trying our damnedest to make sure that we have others in 2020.